Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis spent the mid-80s in screwball comedy Moonlighting, and it is about time the Blue Moon Detective Agency found a mass audience again. Not afraid to let characters break the fourth wall or bring in Orson Welles for a cameo, Moonlighting was a groundbreaking show packed with frisky one-liners as Maddie and David flirted through gritted teeth. Shepherd smoldered as Maddie, an ex-model trying to make a living as a private investigator while displaying the best workwear wardrobe of her era. Willis was a world away from his die-hard persona, and was the perfect foil to her seriousness. They were the Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant of their time, a pairing made all the more delicious by rumors that they fought off set as well as on it. Sure, Moonlighting would appear dated now, but it is ripe for a rerun. HV The Larry Sanders Show. All the other big American 90s sitcoms have wised up. When Friends and Seinfeld were sold to streaming services, it seemed like a no-brainer. Not only were they regaining their slot in the cultural conversation, but they were earning millions of dollars in the process. And yet The Larry Sanders Show, a much better, more groundbreaking series that deserves endless adoring reappraisals, has yet to make the jump. Even with all the terrible banned segments that clogged up later series, it remains utterly peerless. S.H. Frances McDormand in Olive Kitteridge photograph, All-Star, HBO. Olive Kitteridge. Earlier this year, Frances McDormand won her second Oscar for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, in which she played the blunt and belligerent Mildred Hayes, determined to avenge the murder of her daughter. Those craving more of Mildred's plain talking will find it in Olive Kitteridge, Lisa Kolodenko's HBO adaptation of the novel that won Elizabeth Strout the Pulitzer Prize in 2008. It is a story that doesn't necessarily feel like a natural fit for the screen, as it shifts and slides over time and characters, but this is a hugely impressive interpretation of it. McDormand is astonishingly good as the misanthropic Olive, whose husband adores her as much as her son grows up to resent her shifting moods. In spite of its star cast, including Bill Murray, Jesse Plemons and Ann Dowd, it resists ever being showy, instead settling in as an elegant, grown-up, beauty-observed portrait of a life, or rather, a number of them. Cheers. Neither this barroom comedy nor its more urbane spin-off, Frasier, are available in the UK, but Frasier does at least have the consolation prize of having its tossed salad and scrambled eggs sandwiched between Everybody Loves Raymond and Car SOS on Channel 4 every morning. Cheers, though, is nowhere to be seen in the schedules or on the ink sites, a strange fate for a sitcom that, other than the irredeemably tainted Cosby Show, was the most popular of its era. What is more, Cheers remains truly, indisputably great. Sure, it might look slightly creaky to millennial viewers, a relic from the more stagey era of sitcoms, rendered extinct first by the ironic detachment of Seinfeld, then by single-camera comedies such as Scrubs, The Office and 30 Rock. But it is a virtually note-perfect version of that archaic style of sitcomery, with a murderous row of a cast: Danson, Long, Harrelson, Ali, Grammer, all deeply flawed schmoes you genuinely cared about and gags that never failed to land. At a time when, remarkably, old-school spit and sawdust sitcoms are making a comeback, there is surely a place in Netflix algorithm for a classic of the genre. GM Camping. Julia Davis midlife masterpiece. Camping is one of the funniest shows to ever sneak onto TV. Every member of the ensemble cast, trapped on a couple's camping trip, is a hide behind the curtain delight. There's Adam Jonathan Cake, a recovering alcoholic, dead-eyed with desperation, and Vicky Pepperdine's controlling monster Fiona, who is paranoid her son is showing symptoms of homoality. But the real genius emerges when giddy escapee of married life Tom Rufus Jones turns up with his rejuvenated hair, and lederhosen-stealing bomb Faye Davis. Her skirts are as short as the time between their noisy humping sessions, and all onlookers are intrigued, depending on the life state. Lena Dunham's US remake may have Jennifer Garner and Juliette Lewis on board, but how the grotesque masturbation jokes will survive is anyone's guess. The original needs to be appreciated in all its disgusting glory now. HV Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It is a bit of a mystery why Buffy the Vampire Slayer HASNT made it to ing, the key formative show in the Joss Whedon canon. Sarah Michelle Gellar leads the line like a natural, and it virtually wrote the book on the whole supernatural shenanigans equals teen traumas. Its side characters have gone down in legend. David Boreanaz, so hunky he even turned up in a Dido video. Seth Green, so annoying he got to be Scott Evil, and the formal gags you know, the astounding all-singing episode once more, with feeling were radical in their day. But it was Whedon's hotline to the teenage mindset that really made Buffy so great. My favorite episodes were the ones where some kids were so ignored they literally disappeared, and the cheerleading mum, who body swapped with her daughter to relive her glory days. At the Irish Room, a 1980s TV adaptation based on the short stories of a female Anglo-Irish writing team, Somerville Ross, The Irish Room is set in the years prior to partition around the turn of the 20th century, when Ireland was still wholly a part of the United Kingdom. Peter Bowles stars as the halting, ineffectual Major Sinclair Yates, who takes up the position of resident magistrate in the west of Ireland. There is no violent uprising against his attempts at authority, he is merely outfoxed at every turn by the rural locals, set in the ways of endless and shady dealing. Yates even finds himself embarrassingly embroiled in local intrigues thanks to his roguish friend Flurry Knox. The most formidable and funniest character of all, however, is housekeeper Mrs. Cadogan, played by Anna Manahan, an interpreter of Joyce, O'Casey and Wilde among others. D.S. Sean Locke as Vince in 15 Stories High. Photograph, BBC 15 Stories High, originally a radio series called Sean Locke's 15 Minutes of Misery. 15 Stories High was an excellent TV vehicle for a comedian nowadays best known for panel shows. Locke stars as Vince Clarke, a swimming instructor of sorts, who lives in a tower block with haplessly eccentric flatmate Errol Benedict Wong. The block is home to a variety of characters who appear to have missed out altogether on the euphoria of the 1990s, isolated specimens of an abidingly bleak Britain. The mildly irascible Vince's interactions with the locals are hilarious, especially the local ragamuffins, including a deep-throated 10-year-old boy and a religious zealot working as a meter reader. Interspersed with his high-rise, low-level misadventures are vignettes featuring other residents of the block, including one young man who emerges from a testy exchange with a female call center operator with a tent-pole erection. It ran for 2 series but was a victim of poor scheduling and was cancelled. D.S. Bill Brand television political fiction these days tends to mean a conspiracy thriller, but in 1976, this ITV peak time show seriously examined the tension in the Parliamentary Labour Party between pragmatism and radicalism governing Britain and changing it. This only worked because writer Trevor Griffiths created such complex and compelling people, led by Jack Shepherd as the title character, a left-winger uneasy in a party led by slippery centrist PM Arthur Watson, played by Arthur Lowe in a fascinating sabbatical from his Captain Mannering in Dad's Army. A perfect box set companion to the rehearsal of the same arguments in the Corbyn era. ML Northern Exposure. Sprawling, ambitious and open-ended, Northern Exposure was the prototype modern TV series. It ostensibly told the story of Joel Fleischman, Rob Morrow, a snarky young medic from New York posted, to his intense irritation, in a beautiful Alaskan backwater called Sicily. Think Twin Peaks, with a surreal horror replaced by meditative, down-home philosophy, and you are somewhere near. Paving the way for TV Golden Age turn-of-the-century epics such as The Sopranos and 6 Feet Under, the show was years ahead of its time when it premiered in 1990. However, Northern Exposure is old-fashioned in one, very crucial way. If you want to watch it in 2018, you have to buy the DVDs. And even then, you have to be careful if you don't want to end up with a version of the show whose immaculately selected soundtrack has been replaced by Muzak mulch. And here lies the problem. One of the main characters, Chris Stevens, a community DJ, usually bookended the show with a thematically appropriate song. And licensing those songs has proved prohibitively expensive. In the era of companies such as Netflix being willing to throw money at comparatively niche enterprises, it seems strange that no one has yet rescued Northern Exposure from box set oblivion. The Wonder Years. Not many shows so ably depict the woes of the Y-formed adults we thought we were aged 12. Heading the group of 1960s US baby boomers that included nerdy Paul Pfeiffer, Josh Saviano, no relation to Marilyn Manson, swear it was Kevin Arnold, played by the impossibly cute Fred Savage. His pained expression sold the idea that each puberty-stricken interaction with Winnie Danica McKellar was the most critical happening in the world, even with the Vietnam War as the backdrop. A rewatch would also allow us a mighty game of spot the bit-part actors who went on to be famous. Juliette Lewis, Alicia Silverstone and David Schwimmer are among them. Penny. Netflix airs the SIXS in their entirety but only in the US because of copyright issues. And not even Netflix could secure the rights to the theme tune, Joe Cocker's cover of With a Little Help from My Friends. SG. The West Wing Ensemble. Photograph, C4. The West Wing. Watching The West Wing in England has always been, for me, a slightly fraught experience. The Aaron Sorkin written show's 7 Undulatings were aired erratically on UK channels between 2000 and 2006, when I was busy with exams and watching endless reruns of All Grace. When I finally realized what I had been missing, I had to resort to borrowing the DVDs one at a time from my dad's prized box set, and spent a glorious summer inhaling walk and talks, pining for Josh Lyman, and replying you think to perfectly innocuous statements. Perhaps it's the show's sensibilities, which are so firmly preying, that mean no services in the UK have snapped up The West Wing on any sort of permanent basis. MP30 Rock Tina Fey's comedy show about a comedy show is single-handedly saving my DVD player from retirement. The show has enjoyed fleeting appearances on Insights in the UK, a travesty given that it is right for repeated watching. There's Tracy Morgan's Did He Just Say That lines, Liz Lemon's gif Abel Pratfalls, and Alec Baldwin's Emmy-worthy performance as the VP of East Coast Television and Microwave Oven Programming. The freedom of random episodes might also uncover those buried in the avalanche of its 138 show runs, such as The Bubble, in which Lemon finds out how the beautiful people live courtesy of Mad Men's Jon Hamm, in a rare successful comedy turn. At the very least, it needs mass distribution to breathe life into its references that have only half made it into the modern lexicon. I want to go to there. Write to your MP demanding action. Stat. SG Julia Davis and Rob Brydon in Human Remains. Photograph, BBC Human Remains. Rob Brydon and Julia Davis only made 6 episodes of Human Remains in 2018 years and 3 DVD copies of it later. I can still quote practically every word. These half-hour comedies, if you can call them that, tell the stories of 6 unhappy couples, mockumentary style. There's George and Sheila, who own the BB that also doubles up as a swingers retreat, and Beverly and Tony, the deeply devout couple practically stalking the local vicar through the medium of curly sausage casseroles. While deeply, darkly funny, the show is also unsparing in its savagery, whether it's the couple suspected of murdering their children, or the Stephen and Michelle, a naive Princess Diana devotee. Why her, why not me? There has never been anything quite like it. RN Smiley's People, the sequel to the BBC's 1979 adaptation of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, takes Alec Guinness' portrayal of George Smiley and doubles down on everything that made for counterintuitively riveting television the first time around. John le Carré Spymaster is now sadder, more tired, more alert to betrayal and demands from every corner. His glasses are somehow even thicker and more owlish than ever. Over the 6 episodes, we get the blueprint for most of the 21st century's most successful spy shows. Clandestine meetings on park benches, secretive conclaves in stately homes, flits through dark woods, and a bravura away with wigs and trench coats. Without Smiley's People, there would be no Spooks, no Americans, no Homeland. It's a shame that it is nowhere to be found, as it deserves to be more appreciated, but we just blew the dust off the reels and stuck it on digital. Quality of the show on DVD only adds to its slow, peculiar charms. MP Nice work adapted by David Lodge from his 1988 book A Shortlisted Novel. This smart 4-parter featured a scheme seeking to foster links between culture and business by pairing representatives of each in a work shadow scheme. Haydn Gwyn, as a feminist academic, is reluctantly coupled with Warren Clarke's tetchy Thatcherite industrialist. The scripts trusted the audience to cope with clever jokes and literary references, while the main roles brought to Clarke and Gwyn a recognition that led to star turns Indiel and Pascoe and Drop the Dead Donkey respectively. ML Lost. One of my favorite podcasts at the moment is Lost Boys, where a Lost fan guides a lost newcomer through all of Lost, an episode at a time. It's compelling stuff, and your first instinct after listening is always to track down Lost and rewatch it yourself. But you can't. Because it isn't anywhere. It used to be on Netflix, and you would expect it to be somewhere on Now TV, but it has vanished, like some sort of mysterious island. If you want to watch Lost in 2018 you have to physically pay for it. And not even I like Lost enough for that. What do you want to see come to ing? Let us know in the comments below.